I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes. It's okay, we're amongst friends, it's fine. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, let it out. Relax your shoulders. Now I'd like you to think about the worst thing that you've ever done in your entire life. Maybe it was intentional, or not. Maybe it didn't turn out as badly as it could have. Maybe you were intoxicated or under the influence or filled with anger or desperation. Maybe it's a secret that no one knows about that fills you with deep shame and embarrassment. Okay, go ahead and open your eyes. That felt gross, didn't it? Now imagine being 100% defined by that worst thing. Nothing else about yourself matters. Good deeds, growth, change, time, none of it. I worry that the cancel culture that we live in has brought us so far away from being able to see ourselves and each other as fallible. I know that I've had too much to drink and gotten behind the wheel of a car. I've inhaled. I've had moments of blinding rage that if circumstances were slightly different, who knows? Just the color of my skin and my gender has given me a leg up for most of my life. I'd like to ask you tonight to keep an open mind as I tell you a few stories of incarcerated individuals that have been 100% defined by their worst thing. Their labels could range from drug dealer to thief to rapist to murderer. I volunteer at our state's prison in my free time. I know I don't look like what you'd think of as a volunteer there. I'm a cheery, average, middle-class, middle-aged white lady. I would certainly never have anticipated that I would spend half of my Saturday nights in prison, but God has one hell of a sense of humor. God knows that if I am sent an email, there is a 99% chance that I'm actually not going to read that email. I'm going to scan it. So, mental note. In 2018, I was part of a Toastmasters public speaking group, worked on my public speaking skills, which, by the way, I still hate doing. But we practiced prepared speeches, evaluated each other, and practiced impromptu speaking. And we would often get emails from our president that said, hey, would you like to come talk to this group or that group about starting their own club? So I got an email, and I thought it said, would you like to come talk to a life group about starting their own club? I thought life group equals church, right? It actually said, well, okay, so I send an email back and I say, yes, I'll come, and I get the creepiest fast response back saying, thank you so much, we don't get a lot of volunteers. Attached is the background check form that we need you to complete, and I thought, what kind of a church needs a background check form? So I go back and I read it, and it actually said, would you like to come talk to the Lifers group about starting their own club? And the Lifers group is a group of men in the maximum security area of our state's prison that meet to improve conditions behind the walls and improve programming. Well, crap. But I already committed. It's just one time, right? So the night came. As I drove up, I was terrified. Razor wire around the fences made it completely real. I walked in several secure doors. I was patted down. I handed my ID to a correctional officer behind what I assume was bulletproof glass. In exchange, he handed me a body alarm about the size of a deck of cards and said, if you feel unsafe at any time, go ahead and pull this pin. A very loud alarm will go off and all the correctional officers will come running. So he sends me through the final door and it slams just like it does on TV. And I thought, shit just got real. So I walked into the room where we were meeting, and I walked in front of the group, and it was probably 30 to 40 inmates sitting in folding chairs. A lot of arms crossed, tattoos everywhere, arms, necks, faces. Certainly not my scene. But there were emotionless faces. So we did what's called a mock meeting. So I got up and I gave a prepared speech. My husband and I fostered dogs at the time, rescue dogs, so I'm talking about the cute personalities and these cute puppies, and I am getting nothing back. And I thought, this is terrible. I need this to be done immediately. So I finish, and I'm getting ready to leave, and 3 guys get up and walk towards me, and I thought, please, we don't need to talk about this. This was terrible. I get it. You don't want to start your own club. Instead, they say, Miss Angela, would you like to meet our dog? Heck yes, I need to meet this dog. So bless them, they walked up with a dog named Missy. She was a white pit bull, white and black. And as they were explaining how they train her in the training program that she's in, I could see a glimpse of emotion and just a little bit of joy. And I thought, there's something here. I need to come back. So I was asked to come back. They did want to start their own club. You couldn't tell by the responses, but they did. I continued to come in, and they continued to ask, and I continued to say yes because I was so impressed with the preparation and the commitment every single time. They then asked, would you be able to do the training that it would take to facilitate a meeting outside of the lifers group? And that required about a 40-hour training, and I had some extra PTO, and they were willing to commit, so was I. So I did that, and now I facilitate a Toastmasters meeting on Saturday evenings twice a month at the maximum security area. The non-maximum security area heard about the success of our group and asked to start one. So now on Tuesday evenings, twice a month, starting next month, I'll be going to prison. I want to be very clear, though. None of this removes the responsibility of the crimes that were committed. The weight of them is undeniable. It does not take away from the deep pain and suffering caused to the victims of their crimes. It's only an attempt for rehabilitation, redemption, or to at least just be done suffering and serving their time when they're released from prison. So when I started, I naively thought that I was just teaching these guys to speak in front of each other, which kind of felt weird, right? Why do you, I don't know. Sure, I'll show up. I asked each participant, why do you want to be a part of this group? And I was humbled by their responses. One said, I really need to know how to talk to the parole board to plead my case, to get out of prison. A couple of them said, I want to get out of my cell on a Saturday night. And I thought, well, that's fair. But several said they wanted to get out of, make sure that they didn't keep getting into fights, or they wanted to learn how to talk to correctional officers and communicate. One man said that he needed to learn how to talk to his kids because his kids were scared of him every time they came to visit. The language in prison is very harsh. It is violent and has all the F-bombs in it that you can imagine. But this man wanted to talk to his kids. But now we have people like the mayor, the chief of police, and some really incredible people within our community coming in to participate in our meetings and really just educate themselves on what's happening there and really just see the humanity. This is where I'm going to get emotional. Inmate number 3274. It's been fascinating to me to learn how often mental health, addiction, and trauma play into incarceration, often without treatment until just before they get released, if they ever get released. The Lifers group held a talent show, which was magical. There were singers, rappers, magicians, writers. It was just an extraordinary blend of talents that you would never believe lived behind maximum security walls. Inmate number 3274, who I only knew as a gentle giant, came to me and said, "Miss Angela, help me figure out which song I'm gonna sing." So I picked 7 Spanish Angels. His performance was hauntingly beautiful and captivating, and I get chills when I hear it today, and I think of him. After he was done, I told him what a great job he did. He proceeded to tell me that he had an anger problem and spent over 15 years in solitary confinement. Imagine having a serious mental illness, being confined to a 6x9 cell smaller than a horse stable for 23 hours a day with very limited interaction for 15 years until they found the right medication to treat his mental illness that allowed him to redirect his anger, problem solve, and really just think clearly. Thank goodness changes have been made to improve conditions and reduce time that people have to spend in solitary confinement or restrictive housing, but that doesn't change the impact that it had on inmate number 3289. 3274. Inmate number 3289. In a place where most emotions are generally not encouraged, we have built a safe space, safe to share all emotions. We've laughed together, cried together, grieved together, and God forbid, hoped together. A few months ago, we found out that 2 of our participants both lost their moms within a few weeks. They spoke of their mothers with such kindness. Inmate number 3289 shared intimate memories of his mother, her generosity, her commitment. He shared her favorite joke and laughed as he told it. As he spoke about her, he looked up as if you could see him replaying those memories in his mind frame by frame. He said he didn't know how to deal with the loss of his mother, but just talking about it meant that he had started the process of grieving. He smiled with such joy, celebrating beautiful memories of his mom. We grasped to every syllable. He paused in silence while gaining composure as tears filled his eyes, grief and regret filled his heart, and he said, he didn't just lose his mom, he lost his best friend. Inmate 3211. It took us probably close to a year to create the safe space that we have. One of our guys speaks Spanish as his first language. Inmate number 3211 always attended, but rarely spoke. He admittedly was terrified. When he was scheduled to give a speech, he'd often skip the meeting. Which, by the way, you don't have anywhere to go. You're in prison, so I know you skipped the meeting. So there was a day when he was scheduled, and I thought, man, if he doesn't speak this time, he's probably going to stop coming. So I asked all the guys, I said, please rally around him, help him these next couple weeks, help him practice and get prepared. So they did, and the night came, and he showed up, so that was a win. And he got up and he spoke. And whenever he stumbled, he paused. And generally when that happened, he would go sit down. He did not. He stood there. And I looked around at my guys, and I could see that they were silently cheering him on. They sat at the edge of their seats, and I thought, how far different this is than the emotionless, crossed-armed giants of my first visit to prison. He got a standing ovation, and I cried like a baby. This group is not a place in which we make excuses for behavior. We create connection here and learn what effective communication means. These guys have made intentional decisions to do more than just serve their time. They're actively putting time and effort into living better lives and creating better futures for themselves and their families, some knowing that they will never again walk without shackles on their hands and their feet on the other side of the barbed wire fences. In our group, the first speech that is given is a short intro speech, just a brief story. The heartbreaking reality is that often these men describe such horrific starts to life in such a normalized way. Some of them make me think, how could you end up anywhere other than prison? I ask that you remember the humanity in each of us. We are so much more alike than we are different. Don't we all know someone just like those men? Please consider those that are just as impacted as complicated, worthy, yet flawed human beings, just as we all are. These guys are more than an inmate number. The ID numbers I said tonight aren't their numbers. I don't know what those are. I know them as their names and who they are beyond the worst thing that they've done. To train to go into the prison, I had to walk through a room that had been sprayed with pepper spray. 0 stars, I would not recommend. I do say all of the time, though, that I would walk through pepper spray 1,000 times if it meant that another human being felt seen and heard and know that they matter. Because after all, isn't that all what we all are longing for? Thank you.